All right, guys, Wixwell Showcase about to be wrecked by the Head of Wrath, I bet. Oh, he did a shield. Oh, I think we survived. All right, guys, so that was actually a little bit unplanned. Well, it's completely unplanned. I'm working on Nightmare Hydra right now, working on Wixwell, seeing if I can get one key done for him. So I did a video a few days ago saying that Wixwell is overrated, and I think he is a little bit overhyped. However, just because I think he's overhyped, I don't want to say stay on the one side of the fence as, oh, Wixwell's bad, he's going to be a vault champion, he's not useful for anybody. In that video, I did mention that I believe the one place he'll be useful is in a different team from Mithrala, because Mithrala does a lot of similar stuff as far as the shield, the increased defense. However, Wixwell does bring some things that are very interesting. So specifically, his intercept ability, it does prioritize the leader champion, which in this case is Wixwell. I put him in the lead spot, so he's continually casting the intercept on himself, which is huge because each turn his passive ability places a counterattack on himself, which means he has one extra buff than everybody else. Assuming here Newt, I turn off his A2 ability, so he can't do counterattack. So Wixwell has counterattack, but he also has the intercept buff as well. So he has two extra buffs. Now he does start to spread the intercept throughout the team. I bet my Newt is about to wreck himself here. This is a full auto team. I may divert from that just for a second, because if not, Newt will 100% wreck himself into this Head of Suffering's reflect damage, but we're at 24 million damage. We're getting pretty high up there, I'd say. I could go ahead and hit this Head of Suffering, but since I don't have a res champion in this team, that would just be writing off my champion's life, basically. I would be screwed, essentially. So we're going to hit the Head of Decay over here just one time. Hopefully Nia can start healing up, turn it back to full auto, and then go back to doing some damage to the Head of Suffering. Now, hopefully we can strip some buffs from him. May not be able to. It may just be more or less over. But essentially what Wixwell is doing in this team is he's serving multiple roles. So I went ahead and put him in a curse set, so he's placing Hex, but I also got him high resistance plus good accuracy. So not only is he placing the decreased attack AoE, which is very good for dealing with the Head of Wrath. Matter of fact, when he was alive, we were doing good. He died, and well, the team fell apart. Because in this team specifically, Wixwell is actually a pretty significant addition. I'm gonna go ahead and end this battle, show you guys the breakdown of the damage and everything. Obviously, this is not one key Nightmare. You can jump in here and change your champions, but with a little bit of tweaking, possibly a little bit of manual work, you could definitely get this to be one key Nightmare. So Wixwell did 5.2 million. Newt did 8.2 million. My patience ended about 10 minutes into the fight. Sun Wukong did 3.1 mil. Nia, 1 mil. Lydia, 2 mil. Inquisitor Shamel, 5 mil. So a good spread of damage. 25 mil is very close to one key Nightmare. 100% full auto. So if you're working towards this level of Hydra, you can definitely make him do full auto one key. So let's take a look at Wixwell and Hydra battle. So these are his stats. When building him, I was wanting him to fill as many roles as possible. The reason why I built him for Nightmare is because since my gear is more in-game gear, I wanted to shoot for higher gear thresholds. But if you're going to use them on like hard difficulty, you don't have to shoot for these numbers. But for me, I'm shooting for 450 resistance, about 330 accuracy. I'm looking for decent speed. In this case, it's anything over about 220 is pretty good for me. Looking for good defense and good HP. I want him to survive. Now, with that said, I want to incorporate as many extra benefits as I can with him. So he's already serving for a Head of Decay Provoker, which is excellent, 100% chance, but he is Force Affinity, so if the Head of Decay is ever Spirit, it's going to be kind of rough for him. We have the A2 ability, which is an AoE decreased attack, very, very strong for the Head of Wrath especially. And then the A3 prioritizes the intercept on him if he's in the leader spot, so he has one extra buff, and then his passive gives him an extra buff from the counterattack. So now he has two extra buffs, so he's going to be targeted by the Head of Mischief majority of the time. So when it comes to Wixwell's gearing, what I have him in is curse set. Now you can go whatever set you want. If you're doing lower difficulties and you're just trying to get him to fit in, you can 100% make him enough resistance to resist the Head of Mischief, as well as enough accuracy to place the provoke on the Head of Decay. So he's filling two roles, but he also brings the increased defense. So your team's going to be a little bit more tanky, and also a shield. It's not a massive shield, but it looked like a pretty reasonable shield to at least protect him from that Head of Wrath smack, right? And I believe it was even with increased attack. You guys can watch back at the beginning of the video, but I'm pretty sure it was a pretty decent smack. Now, as far as his books, he is fully booked. He does bring a defense aura in all battles, which is pretty cool. And then his masteries, I have War Masters to add a little bit of extra damage. And if you run a champion who has leech, it's even better. Guys, for the sake of testing something, I want to show you all how Wixwell's intercept ability actually works, which I think is actually very interesting and may change where you consider using Wixwell, and actually could lead to quite a bit of new theory crafted teams. So what I'm going to do is I set his priority to the A3 ability. We have the provoke on the Head of Decay, and he's going to use this A3 ability. So I'm going to use it on auto, and he's going to place the intercept on himself. Now, that's not a big deal in itself. So what I want to do is reset him. We're not going to use Nia's reset just yet. But after he places the intercept on himself, it's not random. What it does is it actually goes in order from the top to bottom in your team. So when you're ordering your team, it goes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth down the road. Now, if he has one stack, I'm not for sure. It probably prioritizes reapplying it, not for searching for there. But now, if what I said is correct, that means that intercept should go on Ancora. So we go ahead and do this. Intercept goes on Ancora. Now, the reason why this is so cool is because this opens up the possibility of having teams without Inquisitor Shamel, especially if you have, well, specifically if you have Ancora, because Ancora actually removes fears from the champion with the highest crit damage. So you can put that champion further back in the team order, and then Ancora is going to always remove the fears from them. This dude, Wixwell, is going to keep the intercept up on a champion who possibly is in second place. He's going to keep the intercept up on them. He's going to have intercept on himself. So he's going to be going between those two champions and basically making them pretty much immune to the head of torment. The fears that he places, granted, it depends on if your champion's a big AoE damage dealer. If he's a big AoE damage dealer, he may get some fears applied. But if it's a champion like Newt and he doesn't happen to have your highest crit damage, well, he may never get the fears applied because a lot of Newt's stuff is single target. So you can just manually target. Every now and then he hits the head of torment for whatever reason, but if he doesn't do that, then he should be okay. So now, if what I said is correct, we should be able to reset Wixwell, and then the intercept should actually go on Wukong. However, Ancora did seem to take a provoke from somebody, probably a provoke from the Head of Suffering trying to go on Wukong. She took that, it looks like, and it went down one stack. So now we can see, okay, if it's 1 out of 2, does he reapply it? Or does he prioritize getting fresh stacks up? So reapply would be on Ancora, fresh stacks would be on Wukong. So you can see here that Wixwell prioritizes himself. He prioritizes the first person in the team order, and then he prioritizes fresh stacks over reapplying it, which is really cool. So that means if you were to run him with Reflex, Merciless, something like that, he could actually keep up the intercept probably pretty solid, honestly. You could possibly have him in teams where you don't really need an Inquisitor Shamel, because now Wukong has essentially 2 AoE skills worth of hitting the Head of Torment. So with the intercept being so predictable, I think he's actually much better than what I originally expected, honestly. He's actually significantly better than I originally expected, because I was expecting it to be like Nia, where her cooldown reduction just goes randomly all the time. You never know where it's going to go. But here I can predict, okay, 2, 1, 1, 2. Now it's going to go to Nia. I can almost guarantee that. Let's see if I can hit T. There we go. Is it on Nia? It is in fact on Nia. So it's on Nia, Wukong, Ancora, Wixwell. I imagine if Wixwell drops this to 0, it's going to go right back to him, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place. This is awesome potential for teams with Ancora. Now, like I said, I still don't think this team's going to push you to ultra high damage in Nightmare, but I think now, if you don't have Inquisitor Shamel, if you don't have Duchess, you now have a champion who can actually deal with the Head of Torment. It's actually much better than I expected. So it's not going to be as good necessarily, because you're going to lose these stacks. And if it's a champion like Nia, who everything's AoE, she has 2 turns basically, 2 Head of Fear applications, and then it's done. But if you're running a cleanse champion like Ancora, well, now she's a single target, so you can just not target the Head of Torment. And when you get around to her, you can hopefully cleanse whenever the intercept is off of Nia. So Wixwell, he's definitely moved up some, but essentially what his roles are, I would say, are a soft cleanser, a soft Head of Torment counter, a good Mischief tank, and a great Head of Decay provoke champion. Plus, you could throw on a curse set, make him have hex capabilities as well. You could throw on a provoke set if you want more consistent provokes that have that AoE effect as well. Or honestly, I think Merciless or Reflex could be the most powerful thing for him to keep the increased attack applied, to keep this applied, and considering he's going to be counterattacking so often, that's going to be really powerful from the A1. Having just a counterattack buff on him and just constantly applying this, because he's always going to apply the counterattack buff. So actually, I think the Merciless set or reflex is probably the way to go. Having the cooldown reduction, 30% chance, reflex similar, having relentless on him, because he's always going to apply this stuff, right? Actually, that's actually much better than I thought. So this is going to be my first impressions. I may do future videos talking about him, but he actually fills more roles than what I originally expected. We may be able to do a lot with him. Having a relentless Wixwell with merciless gear could be better than what I originally expected. So guys, I may be walking back my previous video, but I want to get this video out to you guys as soon as possible so you can make your decisions for the fusion before it actually starts. So let me know what you think about this test server stuff. Let me know what you have planned for Wixwell. The intercept buff, honestly, it prioritizing it in that order literally changes my entire opinion about him being a mischief tank, because a lot of people were saying turn off his A3 and then just use A2, make him a mischief tank, and that's possible. It's not horrible, but you're losing a lot of good stuff. Even without the intercept, you're losing the increased defense and shield, a massive part of his kit. In order to replace that, you have to bring in like a Mithrala, which gets a little bit weird because you're kind of duplicating abilities. But either way, now knowing how you can predict this and that he's basically going to spread it across the team and then prioritize himself, it's actually pretty powerful. It's actually pretty powerful. And on a 3-turn cooldown of that, actually kind of impressed. Kind of impressed, honestly. So guys, with that said, thank y'all for watching. Best of luck. Let me know if this changes your opinions, if you're actually going to go for Wixwell. And I might try to actually theory craft some teams that are going to be a little bit better. So guys, I love and appreciate all of you. Let me know what you think about this. Drop some comments, drop some subs, drop some likes, all that kind of good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one.